Now, let's talk about how Saudi Arabia betrayed their own so called Western allies. A few days ago, we reported on the channel that China and the CCP regime became the referee and the moderator, and they managed to get Saudi Arabia and the Iranian regime to become friends and allies. That was the whole point of the Western forces and all the globalists backing the Saudi side all these years because of the rivalry between Iran and Saudi and all the proxy battles in Yemen and other places. And that was a big mistake because the Islamic occupation in Iran since 1979 was thanks to CIA and France and a bit of CIA, MI6 here turning a blind eye. That didn't go well because that backfired on the West. The day after the revolution or the coup that they had, of course, the Iranian regime came out on the street and said, "Death to America." That didn't go too well for those who thought that they can control the Iranian regime, and they betrayed their own ally in the Shah of Iran in the 70s. Now, Saudi Arabia have betrayed the West. And we're going to talk about the details of this treaty, this new alliance between Iran and Saudi. By the way, it's a very dangerous situation because it's the main winner in this is China. On the other hand, we have some hope and optimism because the Iranian uprising and revolution continues to escalate, and eventually the Iranian regime will fall. We know that. It's just a matter of timing. It might take some time, but it will happen. So this whole House of Cards nonsense is about to collapse. But for now, what's threatening our interests and our national security is the following. One, you got the embassies of Saudi Arabia and the Islamic Republic of Iran that will reopen in less than 2 months. They're going to have respect for sovereignty of each other's states. So this is very dangerous for the West. Well, not necessarily West in terms of the Western establishments, but we're talking about Western people, all of us, ordinary citizens of the West. Secondly, activating the security cooperation agreement between Saudi and Iran that they attempted to basically have it since 2001. That didn't go well. They signed it, and both sides tried to essentially go against each other behind each other's backs. So all the proxy battles started like in Yemen. Now, activating the cooperation agreement in the economic, trade investment, technology, science, culture, sports, and youth sectors. This was an agreement that they came up with in 1998. They're finally going to be actually implementing it because of all the divisions. Urging the three countries, it's interesting now, they also include China in this, to exert all efforts to promote regional and international peace and security. Oh, thank you so much, President Xi. You care so much about international peace and security. Interesting that one of the agreements is based on not just the international security, but also trade and investment. Now, who is very much into trade and investment when it comes to those three countries? Oh, yes, it's China. They're the only ones who are going to benefit. And of course, everybody else will be the loser in this, especially people in the West. Both Saudi Arabia and the Islamic Republic will undertake not to engage in any activity that destabilize either state at the security or military or media level. So they're going to be friendly, basically. They're not going to gossip about each other on the media. Saudi will also pledge not to fund media outlets that seek to destabilize Iran, such as Iran International. For those of you, in case you've been following all this updates, especially on the channel, Iran International is a news media outlet which is outside of Iran and is run by the opposition, by those who want to bring back democracy into Iran. And they were based in London, the main hub, until now. Why? Because our British government and the West are still supporting the Iranian regime and recognizing it as a legitimate state and government. So we have the Iranian embassy in London. So what they did, they got all the agents and spies, the Iranian spies, from the embassy to go and intimidate Iran International staff up to a point where the UK police couldn't really protect them. So they basically left the UK. They have now all moved to America. Now, Saudi have now promised not to fund Iran International in case Iran International asks for money. I don't know why they would go to Saudi Arabia, but okay. On the other hand, Saudi have also pledged not to fund any organization that's designated as a terrorist organization by Iran, such as the People's Mujahideen Organization, MEK, or Kurdish groups based in Iraq, or militants operating out of Pakistan. Well, that's so lovely of you, Mr. Saudi. So basically, they're going to be friends. We know that. Also, Iran pledges to ensure that its allied organizations do not violate Saudi territory from inside Iraqi territory. Okay, so this is about the proxy battles, which takes us to the last bullet point. Saudi Arabia and Iran will seek to exert all possible efforts to resolve conflicts in the region, particularly the conflict in Yemen. Now, why do I have a feeling this isn't really the idea that came from Saudi or Iran? Why do I have a feeling that I can smell China in this? Yemen, close to, obviously, well, it's the continent of Africa and close to all the bases that China currently has. The Chinese empire is expanding, and we're too busy discussing Gary Lineker and Fiona Bruce and all the rainbow debates and culture battles. There is literally such a thing called now as Eastern globalists and the Eastern Empire rising, and we're just too busy shooting ourselves in the foot. This is the problem right now with our institutions and the Western establishments. They're working against our interests, even if they don't realize it. Some maybe malicious intent, some selfish and greedy reasons, some just basic corruptions, and the rest useful idiots who are part of the establishment, whether in the name of elected politicians or other people, who are completely being used, and the incompetence that we have. That's why it's either at some levels it's complacency, other levels complicity. That's the problem. And now you're going to have the Eastern empires in the name of China, and they're completely recruiting everybody left, right, and center these days, and buying out countries. They don't even have to start actual military conflicts. They don't need to do that because they're buying us. And they have control over cyber, the internet, they have control over financial markets, and we're just sitting here talking about gender-neutral toilets, for example. Anyway, this was the latest update I thought I'd give you guys because you're not going to get any of this in the mainstream media. I'm Mahyar, Tousi, and we are the media.